The heartfelt story surrounding Kristi McBee's first public appearance since the deeply personal and surprising separation from Steve McBee Sr. In a moment that captured both strength and softness, Kristi McBee, mother, entrepreneur, and former heart of the McBee family dynasty, stepped out in Kansas City for the first time since the public confirmation of her split from Steve McBee Sr. Clad in a soft ivory blouse, classic denim, and a warm caramel trench coat that fluttered gently in the early autumn breeze, Kristi looked every bit the embodiment of quiet confidence. Her natural beauty radiated through minimal makeup, and her calm demeanor left onlookers in awe. She smiled gently as she exited a local artisan market, a nod, perhaps, to returning to her roots and reclaiming her space in the world outside of the spotlight. Kristi and Steve Sr., married for decades and co-founders of the McBee legacy, were long admired by fans and followers as the foundation of a successful, God-centered family business. From raising 4 sons to building a ranch empire, their partnership seemed strong, resilient through the highs and lows of public life. Yet, even the strongest foundations can show wear. Friends close to the couple say the pressures of public scrutiny, mixed with diverging values in recent years, began creating emotional distance. Steve Sr.'s growing involvement in the family's media presence, including reality television and business branding, reportedly clashed with Kristi's more private, grounded nature. Though deeply committed to their family, the couple began facing challenges in finding common ground, especially as their public visibility increased. The news of the separation, while not entirely unexpected to some close followers, struck a chord across social media. Messages of support poured in for Kristi, many from women in midlife who saw their own stories reflected in hers. Kristi reminds us all that you can hold grace and grief in the same hand, read one heartfelt comment. Others praised her resilience, noting how her love for her children and quiet strength has always shone through, even when the cameras stopped rolling. Some followers speculated on whether the split was inevitable after the show, while others simply expressed hope that both Steve and Kristi would find peace and fulfillment in their individual paths forward. Kristi's public appearance wasn't flashy. It wasn't about making headlines. It was about presence. A subtle but powerful message: I'm still here, I'm still me. Sources close to the McBee family say Kristi has been focusing deeply on her passions: faith, family, and wellness. She's reportedly been spending more time at the ranch, mentoring young women in the community, and exploring small business ventures centered on mindfulness and intentional living. There are whispers that Kristi may be considering writing a memoir, not a tell-all, but a reflective piece on womanhood, marriage, and rediscovery in the second half of life. As for Steve Sr., insiders say he's taking time to reflect, staying active in the business, and continuing to support his sons, particularly during filming commitments. While public appearances have been limited, those close to him say he's processing the transition with a mix of sadness and acceptance, committed to staying respectful and supportive of Kristi's space during this time. Kristi McBee's story is one of resilience, not loud or showy, but rooted in authenticity. In a world quick to define women by their relationships, she's quietly redefining herself, on her own terms. This isn't just a story of separation. It's a story of strength, reflection, and new beginnings. And as Kristi steps forward, the world, especially women in her generation, are watching, learning, and silently cheering her on. It was Kristi's first public appearance since the McBee family confirmed the end of her decades-long marriage to Steve McBee Sr., a marriage that had, for many, symbolized the heart of the McBee legacy. Their story, one of faith, hard work, and raising 4 sons on Missouri soil, had long inspired admiration. Together, they had built more than a ranch. They had built a brand, a life, a following. Yet behind every perfect photo and polished family scene was a truth many marriages eventually face. Growth doesn't always happen in the same direction. Friends close to the family had seen it happening, slowly but surely. As Steve Sr. became more involved in the public side of their brand, reality television appearances, business partnerships, press events, Kristi found herself craving something simpler, something more soul-rooted. Her passions had always been more private, tending the garden at sunrise, counseling young women at the local church, or simply hosting family dinners without cameras watching. And though their love had once been fierce, it had shifted. Not disappeared, perhaps, but reshaped by time, by change, and by unspoken distance. It's never just one thing, as people often say. It's the slow buildup of missed conversations, diverging dreams, and different rhythms of living. When the announcement finally came, simple, respectful, and absent of drama, it still sent ripples through the McBee fan base. Social media lit up with a mixture of disbelief and compassion. "Not Kristi and Steve," one woman wrote. "They were the last real ones." But most comments weren't gossip-fueled. They were rooted in empathy. Women in their 50s and 60s shared their own stories of growing apart, of choosing peace over performance, of starting again with shaky hands but clear hearts. Kristi reminds us that you can hold grace and grief in the same hand, one post read. It was perhaps that very sentiment Kristi carried with her on that breezy afternoon in Kansas City. Her outing wasn't a public relations move. It wasn't a statement of reinvention or revenge. It was simply life, honest, quiet life, and yet it held so much meaning for so many watching. One shop owner, who recognized her from across the display table, later said she looked peaceful, like someone who'd cried, healed, and then decided to keep going. According to sources close to the McBee family, Kristi has been spending most of her time at the ranch, not retreating, but restoring. Her days are filled with morning devotionals, long walks with the dogs, and community projects close to her heart. She's even begun mentoring a group of young women from local high schools, teaching them about resilience, boundaries, and the value of knowing your worth before the world tries to define it for you. There are also whispers of something more creative on the horizon. A friend hinted Kristi might be working on a memoir, not a tell-all or a celebrity expose, but a deeply personal reflection on womanhood, marriage, faith, and rediscovery after 50. She's not writing to air grievances, the source explained. She's writing to remind women that there's life, good, full, and beautiful life after heartbreak, even after long seasons of giving so much of yourself to others. Meanwhile, Steve McBee Sr. has kept a low profile. He remains active in the business and is reportedly focused on supporting his sons through their growing public platforms. Those close to him describe him as respectful of Kristi's space and deeply committed to staying a present father and partner in co-parenting, despite the shift in their relationship. Their separation, though undeniably sad, has been handled with the same values they spent years teaching their sons: humility, maturity, and above all, love, even when love changes shape. To many, Kristi's recent public moment might seem small, but for others, especially women of her generation, it was deeply symbolic. In a culture obsessed with reinvention through spectacle, Kristi showed us what real resilience looks like. Not a reinvention, but a return. A return to oneself, a rerouting, a rediscovery of identity outside the roles we play: wife, mother, supporter, and back to the soul beneath it all. And so, as she walked down that Kansas City sidewalk with the autumn sun gently warming her face and the future quietly unfolding before her, Kristi McBee wasn't looking for a headline. She wasn't trying to prove anything. She was simply living. And that, perhaps, is the most powerful message of all. Because sometimes, the most extraordinary thing a woman can do after a life-changing chapter ends is just keep going. In a world quick to box women into stories of success only when tied to marriage or motherhood, Kristi McBee's quiet grace offers something richer. A reminder that transformation doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it arrives in a caramel coat, carrying candles from a Saturday market with a soft smile that says, "I am still here. I am still me." What are your thoughts on Kristi's first public appearance since the announcement? Share your perspective in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching.